Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond BMR. I'm your host, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Joining me, Studio B, to my left, Jason McLean for the evening. We got Jason gracing us for the first 52 minutes of the show. Also gracing us, Will Lunsford. Y'all know Will. He's been on here many times. He's got brand new research. He's also got a new book, Searching for the Unfindable, My Quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. Going to be a fantastic show. Thanks for joining us. Beyond BMR goes beyond the mysteries of the world. We take a deep dive, not only just into Bigfoot and Dogman, but we look into aliens, UFOs, hidden mysteries, time travel, and the paranormal. How do they all come full circle? That's the question. You can find this on iHeart and Odyssey Radio, Spreaker Radio, and wherever podcasts are found. Also, you can find us on KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Selene out in Oregon for that. If you like what we have to offer, if you want to support the channel, the Super Chat is open. Yes, the Super Chat is open. Also, the Super Thanks is open for long after the show ends in our archives. And the archives are free. Go check it out. Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. The soon to come Jason McLean Questions Everything. Check us out, of course, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, live across all your streaming venues. Speaking of our streaming venues, as most of you know, Texas Front Porch is Mondays at 9 o'clock in the East, followed up on Tuesdays by Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in the East, Beyond BMR at 9 o'clock in the East. Jason McLean, after this show, of course, got to, watch the replay. But after this show, Jason does something called Mysterious Library on Untold Radio AM at 10 o'clock in the East. So please go check out Jason. Does a wonderful job over there. Thursdays, brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob at 1 o'clock in the East. Going to be a fantastic show tomorrow. I got one of William's buddies coming on tomorrow. We'll get into that a little towards the end of the show. Thursday nights is the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, 9 o'clock in the East. You need some more Woo with the Booze. We got them back again on Friday, 9 o'clock in the East, the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woos. Saturday, Texas doing something with Danielle Diva. If you're into true crime, if you're into Infamous Minds, well, that's where it's at. That's the name of the show, Infamous Minds, Saturdays, 3 o'clock in the East. Please subscribe to Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, Texas Front Porch, Jason McLean Questions Everything, the Blondes, the Booze, Paranormal Podcast, all shows streamed on the Front Porch and with your buddy BMR. With that being said, I'm going to bring up Jason.
Mwah.
Hello, Jason.
Mwah.
Thank you for the kisses to the fans. Be kind. Thank you for a great start already. $10 into the kitty. Love you. Be kind. Thank you so much for that. Awesome person.
Yes.
Just
absolutely.
like everybody in chat. We got the best chat. Like Jason always says on Wednesdays, the best chat is right here across the porch. Wherever you're tuning into, we have fantastic chat rooms across all of our platforms. Thank you to everybody.
Best audience Jason, on the internet.
Yeah, Jason, thanks for popping on. I know I've had, Will Lunsford, I've had on Brunch with Bigfoot Rob 3-4 times. This is the first night since I've had the night show where he graces us with his awesome presence. So I figured, Jason, Tex has done it. Back when Jessica's done it. Let's see, Krista's done it. I've gone solo. I said, you know what? I got to introduce Jason to Will because I'm sure that you will enjoy what Will has to offer. And,
absolutely.
And with that being said, I usually take 6 minutes with my monologue, but I know you're pressed for a little time and we got a lot of information to go over. So I'm going to bring up Mr. Lunsford. There he is, William. Hey, man, thanks for coming back.
Man, thank y'all for having me on. I appreciate it. I don't ever take this for granted, nor do I take for granted the fans that you have. They're always so knowledgeable in the questions that they ask. And so I really appreciate this opportunity. It keeps me sharp as well. So thank all y'all very much. And again, thank you to our service people, our veterans and our policemen and all that let the things do that we can do so that we can go out and Bigfoot hunt like we do.
Yeah. Well,
thank you, Will.
Yeah, thank you so much, Will. And we do have great fans, and they are knowledgeable. I don't watch many YouTube stations or channels, but I notice if you go across Front Porch, BMR, Jason, the Booze, even Bobby Van Buren on Wednesdays earlier today, A lot of great people in chat. They are knowledgeable. They ask pertinent questions. They're not sitting in there knitting crochet. They're not playing twiddly links. They're actually paying attention. And that's what I love about each and every single one of our audience members that and even the people that are not in chat. We got a lot of people that are listening on the radio. We have a lot of people that will just watch the replay and get a great comments from them. And I thank you, Will. You've always been on the day show with me, and I finally got you on the night show. So again, thank you for that. And I don't want to mince words. We're going to get into some of your newest research, but before we get started, I'm really proud. I don't know you personally, but I'm very proud you put out a book that I know you've been wanting to get out, searching for the unfindable Bigfoot. Unfathomable. Well, you can I'm sorry. I'm reading in the dark. My quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. Why don't you redo the title and tell us how that journey's gone for you and where we can find it?
Well, maybe the funny thing was when I went to type that in there on my word process, the first thing it did was make me go to dictionary. There's no such thing as unfindable. But the reason that I entitled that, because as y'all know, I'm about 20 miles from the area called Fouke, Arkansas. Fouke, as far as I'm concerned, is the Mecca of Bigfooting in America. It's home of the legendary Fouke Monster, the second most famous Bigfoot that there ever was, next to Patty, I think, as far as here in the country. But I kept having people say, well, you need to write a book, but you're never going to find him. I told them, folks, I've already found him. I've seen him several times there. They said, well, why don't you tell us about it? And, of course, y'all know I like to talk. Most of them didn't have time to sit and listen to me through the whole story. So I decided I would go ahead and write a book because I've had a lot of experiences. My first was in 1977, and I accidentally became hooked on it. It was not anything I did on purpose or intentionally, but I had another sighting in 85, and after that, man, my life just changed. It was one of the landmark moments, or milestone moments of where your life you can put a point down and go from that point right there. So that's exactly what it is. I appreciate you saying this. This is my book right here. I showed it to somebody the other day. They said, man, that looks more like a dictionary. Well, it is, because the reason it's so big, it's 449 pages. It's also got some color pictures in it. I didn't get as many pictures as I wanted to because it had so much text. But the reason that I left it to be so long, because it covers, I saw my first in 1977. So that's 46 years worth of research. And I didn't want to interrupt my research at one point and just stop and then take all that much time to go back through and finish everything else when we had, maybe had forgotten it or wasn't quite, keeping the train rolling on that. So I went ahead and decided to put it all onto the one book right there. Now, surprising, you think, oh gosh, it must be $60. It's not, folks. What I did a lot of bargaining with these people, because us Bigfooters, hey, we got money to spend Bigfoot, and we don't have that just to spend on time when it's reading, except when it's raining. But anyway, the price on it is $30 there, and you can get it in a hard copy for like 36, and then you can get like a what do they call it, an ebook or something like that. I think is a lot cheaper, about $9.99 or something other like that. But anyway, I'm very, very pleased with that, because it was a labor of love. It was something that everything in here is true. And the more that I researched and the more that I got into this, the more hooked I got, because there were so many answers to puzzles coming up when I didn't even know there was a puzzle, So I'm glad to share that with everybody. And like I said, it does cover all my research. It's got color pictures of some of the creatures. It's got color pictures of, I covered a little bit on the story of the Fouke Monster and everything. And I try to stay up to date with it, folks. I have seen the Fouke Monster or his children, offspring, grandchildren, whatever it is, at least 7 times, and not just in a group of 1, but actually sometimes I've seen as many as 3. A lot of times I've seen twins with the mamas and stuff. So that's something I keep my hand on the pulse of. And also here in Arkansas, not just here, but when I became a UPS man and I would deliver, and all these stories would come up from other people 60 and 70 miles away. And I'm like, man, I can't just say my quest for the Fouke Monster, because so many people were sharing things with me that I felt like I needed to be sharing with other people. So that's how I came up with searching for the unfindable, my quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. And this quest has not quit in 46 years, and it continues to go. I've had 5 reports this week. And that's one thing I love about this. Whenever you get out here, I'm not a public figure for sure, but I try to leave myself open to folks if they want to communicate. Got these reports, and I've got some more I've got to check out next week. So I really enjoyed that. And so that's what it's led to. And then, like I said, my family does, and I've got some great researchers. Y'all had Stephen on there. Tomorrow night, y'all going to have Daniel Becker on there. Daniel's man, he's a up and coming bright mind, man, in this stuff. So.
Yeah, Daniel Becker will be on Thursday at 1:00.
And then you're going to enjoy that. He's gotten he's actually 3 for 2. We've been out 2 times together there. He's come in from Alaska twice there, and both times he's been able to get photographed. So either he's charmed, or else we often talk about are you quote marked by Bigfoot to where they'll show themselves to you? Well, if so, he certainly is. But he does a lot of study behind the scenes too. So again, big joke on him. Daniel goes, well, whenever he introduced himself to me, he said, man, I just knew you weren't lying. I said, well, really, how's that? He goes, no, as fast as you talk, nobody can lie that fast.
I do have a question before we get too far into it. Do you circular breathe, or do you? We're 10 minutes into this, and you haven't stopped to take a breath yet.
Hey, but I used to be a swimmer. I was a good swimmer, and I also used to run track. I used to run the mile running track, and also the open water. And so, man, I just got to where you just had to kind of take some breath and get as much as you need and try to just get a little whiff every now and then. But anytime y'all want to stop me, y'all know I'm not offended. You stop me, I'll either take a breath, let y'all talk, or answer a question, whatever you do. But again, I have a lot of knowledge or experiences, not necessarily knowledge, a lot of things to share. And when you get me for a 2-hour show, you get 4 hours worth of information. So, again, I appreciate y'all's tolerance with me on that, and for the people who do listen, but thank you.
No, you're good. I'll be putting up the hand at the 52-minute mark, because I know we'll be in the middle of something.
Yep.
Yeah. I would like to point out, Duke has already noted that while Will's book is over 400 pages, if you read at the same speed he speaks, it only takes about an hour.
Yeah,
Exactly. It took me a whole lot longer to type it, because I type with this finger and this finger, so it took a whole lot more.
Oh man, that took you like 3 years.
It took me a while.
Yeah, if you use the voice to text thing, probably would have only taken you an hour.
Well, I have, but it kept coming up with some of the stupidest statements you've ever heard, and some of them almost became obscene or pornographic. I'm like, no, because a lot of it I was doing late at night. I said my mom was in the hospital, and so I was taking care of her. Come in, sit down at the computer, and say something. And of course, when you talk fast, words tends to come together. And so all of a sudden, the way it was coming up, I'm like, I can't try to do this junk anymore. So I just had to go back to the old chicken picking, what we call it down here in Arkansas.
There's something that just came up, because Jason just started, and Be Kind answered this. You've been on like 5 times,
right?
And you always have the same background, which is always cool. You look fine, everything. But the thing about your background, this is not really Bigfoot related, but everybody wants to know the story. And Be Kind brought this up, of the fish that looks like a big old bucket mouse sitting in the back of you.
That's not the biggest one I've ever caught. That was the last one I decided to mount. I think you can probably see right there. There's also a few trophies. Mm-hmm. I used to do a lot of bass fishing for money. I probably won about $110,000 just off of that hobby right there, which really makes me blessed, because it helped pay a lot of bills. But the bass there is just a little bit over 9 pounds. My largest is 13 pounds, and I caught her and turned her loose. I don't mount them anymore. Rarely do it. If I eat one, it's one that's been foul hooked. Other than that, and I just rather turn them loose. And then those trophies are for some trophies. Some of them were actually state tournaments and national tournaments that I've done well in, and the other pictures. But tell him I appreciate him asking, because I do. There's 2 things I love, and they both start with B, and that's Bigfoot and bass fishing, man. So those 2 right there, we got those going on, I hope.
Well, that's a great combination. I like them both.
Yeah.
The biggest bass. Yeah, the biggest bass. I've never caught a bass over 2 pounds, and I tell you, but you know what? The state of Michigan, we're not really known for our bass. We're known for walleye, perch. If you're on the Great Lakes, salmon, trout, things like that. Our bass, they just so mature. If you get a 3.5 or 5 pounder, that's a lunker.
One thing about Michigan is Michigan has so promoted their smallmouth bass fishing.
Yeah.
I've got such great lakes up there. And then probably the greatest fisherman that ever lived came from Michigan, a guy named Kevin Bandana from Kalamazoo. I mean, man, he's a phenom, and everybody says he is the best that's ever fished, and I believe it. But so Michigan, y'all have so much more wildlife. Your deer weigh 310 pounds. They look like some of our cows that were out here grazing, So really, so y'all have Michigan. The Department of Natural Resources up there has really done well with what y'all got, and in that right there, it's got to benefit the Bigfoot, because you've got something like that. If he has to kill 3 deer down here, he's got to kill 1 up there in order to eat. And that's nature for you. Bigfoot does. There is a line of predation up there, but what they have. So again, like I said, the smallmouth fishing is just incredible. Beautiful, beautiful state. And I would love to come up there sometime. And of course, Michigan is the original home of the Dogman too.
I just did a story on the Michigan Dogman about some guy. We're not going to get into that, but it's Wexford, Michigan, which is actually the county where I saw my Bigfoot, and it's also the county of 1967, I believe, was the first Dogman sighting. And then, of course, they wrote a jingle that debuted in 1983. I think so all of that, song and dance. So
right.
So, well, let me ask you. It's been about 2 months since you've been here. What's what new and fascinating research have you uncovered since we last spoke?
I'll tell you, I've been a lot there. Like I said, we've had the Fouke Monster deal. I've been doing a lot looking around Fouke and stuff. We had Keith Crabtree has his spring camp out down there, and then they've also had the Fouke Monster Festival down there. So been spending a lot of time in Fouke, looking there, driving the road. It's been so wet, there hasn't been as much opportunity to get out in the woods because of that right there. But I've also been doing the same thing up there around Ground Zero, just cruising the roads and things. We haven't been finding a lot of tracks, but sadly, with as much rain, even today we got rain. I was afraid our pictures that we had we're not going to load up. But the rain has been washing a lot of them out. But the tracks are there, the impressions are there. So it's been very, very had me very, very excited that whenever things kind of dry out some, it's going to be pretty good. And so far, I've had a good spring. I've gotten a lot of pictures of the Bigfoot there, and I've got 7 cameras out. Even now, while we're talking, guys, one reason I do game cam photos, there's 2 myths out there. The people say, well, why don't people have more pictures? Nobody's got any pictures. That's not true, and y'all know it's true. You know that me and Steven have got pictures of it, and I'm sure there are other people do too. But then, then they're saying, well, you can't get them on game cams. I get a lot of pictures on game cams, and so does Steven. The whole key is they're so familiar with their environment. And I think if you interview anybody that Bigfoot hunts, they'll tell you the same thing. They're so good in their environment. They're better in their environment than we are in their environment. And if something is new, they know it's there. So what we do, again, to get these pictures, and we take our cameras and we find some brush piles. They'll be like that right there, and we'll stick them right in the middle, like say where the little hole is, to where it's clear and to where the lens is through. So when this thing happens to walk by, we try to set them up at least 4 or 5 foot high, most of the time at least, with an angle so we can see. But when they walk by, it gets their picture. And that's the funny part. That's when the fun starts, because you don't know how they're going to react. A lot of them don't like having their picture took. The next picture you get, again, is you're going to have a Bigfoot eye looking in there at your camera, just like that, into the brush top. Or then you're going to have a Bigfoot hand reaching there to get your camera like that. And then your next thing, as I say, is where you get to go on a 2-hour scavenger hunt, see if you can find your camera where he threw it out into the woods, because you have no idea. But when you see the tracks heading up to it, and you're so excited, and you're really the most disappointed whenever they don't turn out as good, because again, they can manipulate cameras, folks. That's no joke. That's not a case of woo or anything like that. That's just something that the good Lord gave them, and so they can do that. So sometimes it comes up a little blurry, but that right there is better than nothing. Because while we're 3 are sitting here talking, I'm actually Bigfoot hunting the woods right now with 7 cameras, and so we're going to try to go get them one day this week. And so, well, that's something there that's true. We get the pictures, and the pictures are there.
Yeah, we do have a few pictures that describes what you're talking about. But let me ask you, and I know you said the woo, and I don't believe everything's the woo either. No. I think there's the woo element, of course. That's my opinion. However, with with some of the cameras, with Bigfoot itself, I do think that they just create so much energy. I mean, so much energy, so much mass, that I think that it gives off a static energy that, of course, is going to emanate some distortion in radio waves or transmitted waves.
And that's true. And then again, I believe with all my heart that they can use the infrasound on those cameras, and then, like I said, zap those cameras. I've got pictures there that are on some of my SD cards that are burned onto the cards. And I've taken them one there, 2 cards actually. They're to a place called Ace Data Retrieval in Dallas, Texas. Now, Dallas is a pretty good sized city. It's got everything you want, from daggum, donuts to brothels to photography shops, But this was recommended to me.
Sometimes in the same store.
Oh, sometimes in the exact same little strip mall there. It gives a whole definition to the word strip mall. But I took this to a place called Ace Data Retrieval in Dallas. Very, very good. Very intelligent people, millions and millions and millions of dollars of equipment took that and my camera down there, and they were recommended as being the best in Texas. If they couldn't get it, nobody could. Well, took my SD cards up there and my camera. And so when they finally called back, and it wasn't cheap, folks. It's $159 an hour, minimum 6 hours. So that tells you how long that it's going. I thought it was 5 hours, but 6 hours. So that's going to run for about $1,000. But on that right there, they called me back and said, "Well, we got some good news for you." And I said, "Then we got some bad news." I said, "Well, what's the good news?" "Well, when we check this out, your photos are there. We didn't lose them off the SD cards." And I said, "Man, that's great." I said, "No." "No, what's the bad news?" They said, "Unfortunately, they will not come off the SD cards. They are burned onto them." And that has to be done either by the infrasound or something like that. But I sent to a good friend of mine from Southern Bigfoot Alliance, Shane Church. Man, Shane's good with that. He couldn't get them off there. One of the best places here in Texarkana couldn't get them, and Dallas couldn't get them off. So again, that like Rob said, they generate just so much energy that I think if they decide to, if they can channel that energy, and Regina, I believe they can, then that tends to be what happens right there. So really, that's one of the reasons you get these blurry photographs. But some of them turn out good sometimes, and that's what you do it for,
I was going to ask you too. With a lot of your, we know you from, well, I personally, and a lot of people in chat know you that from all over. Like the Fouke Monster is what I would promote you as like last year. But do you do any research outside of Arkansas? And where's the best territory that you've come across?
I do a whole lot in Arkansas. Two of my best areas here are within an hour and a half. One of them, Fouke, is probably only like 22 minutes away. My next best area is probably 32 minutes away. And then another place is probably about exactly an hour. Then went up to an hour and a half. And I can beat those just really quick. I hitchhiked one time to a Ted Nugent concert up in Little Rock because my truck was my car was broke down. So that's nothing to make a trip for some good Bigfoot hunting. Anybody will do that right there. Oh yeah, and as I say right here, been in Montana too. Exactly.
Yeah, I know Duke would not let that one slip past. No. So yeah,
and that's amazing too. But I do a lot in Texas. I do a lot in Louisiana. I don't get to do as much in Oklahoma as what I do, but because they're so close to home, and I really have a busy lifestyle, we rescue dogs. And with that right there, and that takes a whole lot of. We've got 8 dogs of our own right now, so there have been rescue rejects. So that takes a lot, and then going out and picking up other dogs, trying to get them vetted and shots and everything else, so we can get them. We send some to Michigan, and we send some to Illinois, and so in doing that right there, that takes a lot of time too.
Yeah.
But it's really one of those things that's really really rewarding, but it doesn't give you as much time to Bigfoot hunt as what I would like to. But man, my research partners. Again, Stephen, he lives down pretty close to there, and he can be there a little bit. He'll go check something out for me. And then I have another friend there, Ashdown, a couple friends here in Texarkana. Again, Daniel from Alaska. Daniel only gets come down about twice a year, but man, he's going to be an asset to us as well. So that's kind of where I'm at. But getting to research here, I've actually researched in Tennessee, in Memphis, there on a place called Mud Island. That's where the pyramid is, right there. The Bass Pro Shops pyramid, right there on the banks of Mississippi. Found Bigfoot tracks there. Right there on the edge of the Mississippi River in Memphis, Tennessee, and found tree structures as well. So they're pretty much all over. You don't have to go very far to look for them if you do your homework and things. Find you an area that's got some Bigfoot in
it. I was wondering when you said pyramid, I'm like, wait a minute, what pyramid? And you said Bass Pro Shops, like, oh, okay, I'm good. Now we know.
No. When you said pyramid, I remember Duke. We can talk about this too, about Nebraska. Duke last year told me about his Bigfoot encounters or find evidence that he found in Nebraska. I'm like, Nebraska? There ain't no Bigfoot in Nebraska with all those cornfields, man. You pull my leg, he starts laughing. But you know what though? More seriously, it doesn't matter what state you're in, right, Will? You can find these things anywhere.
That's exactly right. What I do, folks, I try to check any reporting, any sightings database. I get on there and look up recent Bigfoot sightings in the United States on Google. You look through that right there to see what areas there are, to kind of give me a lead if there's something that I'm missing. I look at 3 different websites there that have ledgers telling you where some of the most recent reports are. And then I read some of those, just look for any consistencies in the sightings, where the sightings are road crossings, where they all on the edge of cornfields, just something along that line right there. And so I try to catalog that stuff right there. But we just got back from Nebraska. Duke was a speaker in the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference, as well as Stephen and myself. And they got to go out and they're actually doing some research in there while we were actually there as they were being, and they actually got activity while they were there at the conference there, staying over there, the place that they were staying at. So they're there. You just have to. You just have to do a little homework here behind the computer there, and you can find where some Bigfoot are. And that's the best investment you can make. You can go out in the woods all you want. If you don't have Bigfoot around, you're not going to have that sighting. But if you can kind of get yourself leaning in the right direction a little bit, then that's what's worth it. The sightings that you get are going to be it's going to be something that's more memorable to you. I said it'll be a landmark sighting for you, or a landmark event in your life as well, because you can catch it from there and then go forward.
Jason, anything? I got a bunch going on. I know you only got 20 minutes with us.
So
I talk a little bit.
I didn't want to step on you.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So okay, I kind of want to go back to the camera thing.
Okay.
They can't extract. So I mean, do you have documentation from these companies stating that they can't extract the data from the card? Because I do find that interesting. If the images are retrievable, but they can't extract them, I find that odd.
It's really odd. I didn't get as far as any kind of documented letter. I was more worried about losing my SD cards that had the pictures of the Bigfoot on it than I was about any kind of documentation. One of the guys, the strange thing about the day I called him and told him what I had, one of the guys that was there that was a tech was also listening to a Bigfoot podcast there. And so he said, man, how coincidental that was. So I could call up there, I could send a letter, hey, would you send me documentation of this? It wouldn't be any problem, whatsoever. But like I said, I was just more excited to not have my pictures, because anytime you put something up for technology like that, something can screw up. You can go through the magnet thing there at the airport there, and all of a sudden, so I was really more excited about that. But I know they would be more than glad to say, hey, we check these out for Will. They checked out my camera. My camera was good. They put the card in there. It shows up on the camera, like I said, but then you can't get it off. So, so like I said, that wouldn't be any kind of problem at all.
Yeah, that would be great. Definitely to have that, because
that's a good idea. Really, because I didn't even think about that. That's a good idea.
I guess the other thing is if they can see that the images. I mean, I guess the question is, can they see the images themselves?
Sure. Yeah. You can see the image. You can see them when you put the cards in the card reader. I've got one that's called Brownie, and coincidentally, two of these are a Brownie. He's a 9-footer that we've seen up there several times. One of them, if he's coming down off the hill, you can see him hiding in the brush, looking at the camera. Man, I was all excited. I'm like, yeah, finally, because it's just a huge track. I get Brownie's picture. I put it in there and it won't come up. I'm like, what's wrong with the picture? Put it back into the card reader. It's right there. So the first person I sent it to was Shane Church. Like I said, Shane is with the Southern Bigfoot Alliance. Extremely intelligent man, boy, good with electronics. He said, well, it's not there. And so he said he sent it back to me. I put it in there and showed it to him, as far as on phone camera and everything else like that. And so couldn't get it there. And then when I finally got a picture of Brownie coming across in front of where I had to place my camera in one of these brush tops, and there he is. And I was so excited. I'm like, here he is right here, because you can see the breadth, you can see the shoulders, you can see the muscularity as far as the trap muscles and the lats on the back. You got 2 inches there as far as that's how far they sink in. Just huge. And so I'm all excited. I'm like, all right. And then I put it in there and then can't get it come up. I was making 8x10s. Anytime I get good pictures like that, I make 8x10s of them to document. So I was making 8x10s. So excited to get this 8x10 in there. I have 5 pictures that were actually here that we're actually going to go into the Arkansas Museum up there on the banks of the river up there. And then COVID came and screwed that up. But then these 2 that I had that I was really excited about did not get to download them. So I had to take a picture of them with a real high quality camera as best as what we could, take a picture of the thumbnail to blow it up like that. So, but again, like I said, it's there. The camera, there's nothing wrong with the camera. Put the camera back out, it worked. Like I said, the SD cards, I didn't take a chance on something happening to it getting wet or anything. So they're in my safe in there with my guns. And I'll reach one of the guns before they reach my SD cards.
You have sent me quite a handful of pictures. And it's so hard for me to determine what. I mean, you have a thumbnail right this big, like a 1/4 inch. But I'm trying to find one that's kind of one of those examples of not sure. You see something, but you don't. I'm just going to throw this up. It's my best guess right here.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Right here. This right here, what you see right there in the middle of that. What I've got a Bigfoot right there. Last time I was on your show, I showed you the one that had blue eyes that was staring at my camera. This is one of his cohorts right there. You can look in the middle. You can see the gray face. You can see the black eyes, the area between the eyes right there. But he's back there hiding. Part of this presentation that I sent you, somebody asked me not long ago, Now, usually when I get this question, it's somebody wanting to be a smart aleck, but this guy was really, really sincere. He goes, man, how come I don't get any sightings? And then what you'll get from the other people is, well, I've been hunting all my life. How come I've never seen one? That's the one that kind of tends, they want to kind of press your hot button, which I don't even pay any attention to because they can't do it. I had one ask me not long ago. He said, where's your pictures? Man, I whipped out my phone like I was showing pictures of my grandkids. Showed him about 20 pictures. He just shook his head. He goes, man, I've got to change the way that I look at things. I'm like, yeah, you do. But this right there in the middle, you can see the gray, and that's him hiding in that brush right there. He's one of the cohorts of the one that I showed y'all earlier this year with the blue eyes, and it has the teeth open there and the big head right there. So he's standing right behind him actually in that picture right there.
Yeah, okay. That's an example of what we were talking about, I think, a little bit earlier, too.
Exactly. And so that's what this is called. It's called Need to Hide, and that's the presentation that I'm working on there, because people say, why don't I ever see them? Well, besides not actually believing in them for one thing, or actually doing any research on seeing what their habits or what habitat they might live in, they're just there. Well, they've seen them. They've seen the tree structures. I've carried people out there. Oh my gosh, I've seen these all my life. I didn't know what I was looking at. So when I tell people that, or if you see the red circle, that's not for my benefit or for y'all benefits. That's for somebody there who hasn't seen, to make it easier for them to have a quicker determination and discernment. Okay, like that picture right there you're looking at. That's the one that Daniel Becker and I got last year in April, and that came with Daniel's camera right there. You can see the black face, you can see the eyes, the nose, but then in the middle you also see a hand there in the middle, and I think there's probably a baby that's wrapped around there. But that right there, we weren't actually seeing them at the time, but we were hearing them over there moving. I told Daniel, I said, we got movement over there, Daniel, and because he has such a great camera on his cell phone, I said, start taking some grid pictures. So he did, and then sure enough, this is about the third one. He had the foresight to have a professional photographer in Anchorage, Alaska, already lined up, and also he had contacted a man named L.A. Marzulli, who is a big deal in the Nephilim, and so we sent these pictures. He sent the picture to Marzulli and sent it to the photographer there in Anchorage, and both of them came back, hey, this is absolutely real. Yeah, because we're still standing out in the field. We haven't even gone to the house yet. Okay, this right here is another one right here. This is one where they hide. You see the circle right there? That one's in a tree. It's right there off of a county road. I just happened to see that one right there. If you drove by there, you just saw the black spot. You wouldn't have paid any attention to it. But knowing what I had, it was an area that had seen Bigfoot in before. I was driving pretty slow, and all of a sudden you see, and she's got that one has the patty type hair, so to speak, kind of the helmet hair or whatever. But you can see, and if you didn't know they were there, you would have probably driven right by. So you see how easy that would have been in all that cover to have missed. So that's one reason that we don't see as many, or people don't see as many, because they have that need to hide. Boy, they're going to look at you. I guarantee you, if you've been in the woods, they've seen you. There's no doubt in my mind. And go ahead, Rob.
No, but I was going to ask you too, with all the pictures, we have a few. We got still a long time going to show, with these pictures, when you're out in the woods, are you just capturing one, or is there many around, like a family unit?
Well, a lot of times here lately, I'm getting a whole lot more family units. We had some on when you and I were on there earlier this year, and then you was able to spot some that were standing behind that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Several in there, so I'm getting more family units. I've got a picture you're going to see here in a minute that's got 7 of them out there in the field. In a minute, you got 2 7-foot twins. You got 3 over there hiding, and 3 up top hiding, 1 at the bottom, and then 1 another deal in the brush. So I'm seeing more family units, and that's encouraging to me, because that means to me that their numbers are increasing, and that also means that with their numbers increasing, somebody's blind as I am and as dumb as I am still has a chance to find and see one. And man, that's one of the most thrilling things that there is. So I'm getting a lot of these families. Some of us call them troops, but they appear to be what we call familial. That means that they have family. If you were born to that family, then you tend to hang together.
Can I throw one up? I just wanted to, again, since I have a very limited time here.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
What's going on with this one?
That right there is one that appears where you look into the right-hand side of the window right there. That was sent to me by a friend, if I'm not mistaken. And there's one up at the top, and then one there at the on the middle right pane right there, that you see the eye shine coming in from those creatures that are peeking in the windows. And man, that's got to be one of the scariest thoughts that I've ever seen, regardless if you know that that Bigfoot is real or not. And you can see some other eyeballs in those panes right there. But I have talked to several people who have been looking up there and just doing absolutely nothing. And you look into the window and there's a Bigfoot looking in their window right there. And years ago, I would have had a complete heart attack. Now I'm probably a little bit more prepared for it. But the one of them is a man who has been working for me for 30 years as a lawman.
Yeah.
And so these things come up to him and was motioning towards his son and to come to the door. And then another man that was on a show we had here not too long ago, a show called Killing Bigfoot. They didn't name it that. The TV network named it that right there. But he had his first sighting with a Bigfoot coming to the window and waving his hand for the young man to come to the window. So that's a copy of that right there. That was sent there. That, like I said, you can see the eyes in there and whether that is real or not. I don't know if there's that many there. Young lady named Christy Sci-Fi. Y'all probably all know Christy, man. Christy sends me pictures all the time while she's sitting there. And she goes, look here, and then there'll be a Bigfoot looking through her back window right there. I have no reason to doubt that because after a while they do get to know you. And again, we're a lot of their entertainment. And so I have that right there. That's one of those things that you just I would love to have that relationship. So far, I don't. They stay. I've had them come 15 to 20 feet from me, but I don't have them looking in my window. If I did, I'm getting some bigger curtains because I just don't know that I'm ready for that one or not.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you were prettier, I'm just saying. You could work a little bit on yourself, give them a little something to
I got to tell you, William used to be a power lifter back in the day, and you might be damn as white as a Sasquatch, Will.
Man,
back in the day, I seen you lift those tires, man. I don't come on. Man.
I could do it. I've actually done 565 pounds over my head. And so I was actually the strongest man in the military contest in Texarkana. Now, since then, said old age and then a couple of injuries and then wisdom goes a long way. And then I'm like, what's the use of doing this crap anymore? It's just not, so that's a lot of it right there. But yeah, I did. And I think that you've seen Steven's 6'3", about 315, great big man. Super guy. I was kidding with him the other day when we went down to Fouke. I told everybody, I said, this right here. I said, I found this Sasquatch driving up here. I said, I shaved him, brought him here to town in Fouke. And this is him. But actually, Steven, he takes that such good ribbon, but he's such a big man. And I truly think that may be one reason they tend to be more attractive maybe sometimes. That may be something that they have that, they reckon that's what they do with women. They recognize the softer voices. They recognize the difference, I'm sure, in stature. So therefore, when we're out in the woods, with a woman, as a rule, they tend to come in closer. Whereas they recognize a man, they tend to stay deeper. The voice, or stay away further. The voice is deeper, and so I think that's one reason that they don't come as close to her. And that's just speculation, but from what I've experienced through 46 years, man, that's just about every single time when that happens, and I've got to believe that's the reason.
And everything is speculation, like you said. I've kind of thought that perhaps with women, and this is nothing against women or men. They little more men are more aggressive. They might see women as a little more standoffish, perhaps. So maybe they feel more. I don't even like using the word more comfortable because a Bigfoot does not need to be uncomfortable anywhere. Thank you, Derek, for that. A Bigfoot can stand his own against 20 guys, most likely. Let alone one guy in the field. But you brought up something about you wish you had maybe they come up and look in your window, and I have to ask you. I have. All the people I've spoken throughout the past several years, the people that stay in one same concerted area in their research area, they seem to have more and more of them make themselves more prevalent, right? More, and some maybe even follow them home if they don't live that far, quarter mile. Or some people, their research area is right in their backyard, right?
Right.
So my question to you is your research area in your backyard where they could maybe come up to a window, or do you have to travel an hour, half hour, or whatever the case may be?
Well, I have to travel. Now, Steven's got on his property there behind his house, and that's one reason that we don't go and actually don't woods walking.
Yeah.
Be mile and a half, and they will follow me back to my vehicle. And I keep a very, very close, watch. Not that I'm going to see all of them, but I'm also trying to be aware of those or any other creatures that might be like pigs, hogs, lions, whatever you want to talk about there.
I'm gonna try to whistle through just a couple more pictures for Jason.
Sure.
So yeah, we got quite a few of them here. Oh, this is cool. I like this a lot. Now, Tex probably would. Tex, we all know Tex when it comes to structures. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one up. It's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, this right here, I want y'all to look at this. This is right. This was on March the 1st in 2000 when I was down at just left Keith Crabtree's spring camp out down there. And I had seen this structure on the left-hand side of the road when I was driving down there.
Mm-hmm.
So I left in time enough to come back and take a look at it. If you'll look at that, the thing is perfectly crossed. The two limbs, they're actually OCD, Bigfoot is, because one thing on one thing has to match something on the other side. If they put it upside down or put it, perpendicular like that, then it's going to be perfectly standing up with the ground there. It's going to be, it's not going to be one side leaning to the other or anything else like this. But this is that structure right there that I found, and I was looking at this. Back there in the back, you can see an oak flat, and while I'm sitting there looking at this structure, I see this Bigfoot running, or it actually was a Gugway. It wasn't a Bigfoot. It was actually a Gugway, which is probably an offshoot brand. I don't think we know as much about them as we do the Bigfoot, but he's actually running across that oak flat right there. And I see him, and at first I thought it was a hog because he was so big and he was on all fours. But then whenever he got up there and got closer and slowed down, I saw it was a Bigfoot. I tried to run up there and I already had my phone out to take a picture. And so anyway, he decided he was going to hide behind a log later on. But this right here it just shows the symmetry. And just like I said, they have the OCD tendencies there too. But look how beautiful that is for a structure. The top has got a fork on the right-hand side. The bottom has got a fork. The other bottom limb there has got, I say bottom, the one behind. The behind limb has got a fork on that. Then the bottoms, both sides. I mean, almost perfectly. One is symmetrical to the other. Now, how are they going to find two limbs that look exactly the same falling out of a tree there? They're not going.
Now, I was going to say it really is perfectly put together. And I was also going to say, you already said it, that wasn't limbs falling from the trees or anything. Yeah. It was created.
Sure it was.
Now by Bigfoot and I don't really think that people do that. I mean, a lot of people that aren't into the structures, especially the smaller ones anyway, certainly not something that big or bigger. People just don't go out in the woods and put that stuff together. But my question is, what do you think the symbolization, that symbol means though? Because I know I probably asked you this question. Why do they make? Is it a marker? Is it a territory marker? Is it directions? What do you think that is?
You know, I think it could be each of those that you mentioned, and maybe a few more. It could be a territory marker. It could be we find consistencies here in some of these structures made by some of the same animal, the same being, even up to a mile away. So they have their own way of doing things. It could be a stay out marker. It could be, hey, this is my clan, come this way. Sometimes I think it could even be border. You know, as far as that goes, as far as for something that they do right there. So we have our own theories. Some of them we know what they mean, you know, which way the limbs are leading or anything else like that. But as far as for actual being for sure, I think there's probably always an exception to every rule. So
you even said something kind of interesting too about a family marker. You know, way back in the day in English, France, when they had their mark made out of the candle wax.
Right.
I mean, maybe it is their family mark. I mean, not all structures are the same. I mean, it just came in my head just now. I don't know.
And I've got pictures of 200 structures that could go in any art museum in this country right there. The way they show so much intelligent design, so much intent. The ones that Duke has had on there, you've seen them, how huge and colossal they are. Our biggest down here, they probably average, 12 to 20 feet as a rule. But again, like I said, it seems to be that there's a consistency among those family units. And I know for sure some of the same Bigfoot. We had one we called Lumberjack because he brought other trees in from other places and placed them all at about an 80-degree angle leaning straight up against an oak tree. We had another called the School Teacher because the structures they made were either X's, A's, or parentheses, things like that. So we have one we call Malcolm X because every time he puts something out, it's always an X. It'll be in the same area. Another one I call Tim Trebo because he'll take these trees, he'll bow them down, and then he'll pin them down on the ground. What a great name for a Bigfoot. But but still, we can tell that and like, hey man, there's Tim Trebo. So we go over and look at that. So it does. They do have these consistencies.
I like that Tim Trebo because Jason Jason knows about sports. He's not a sports fan, and Jason laughed, and I'm proud of Jason. He knew that. He knows who.
You know who Tim Tebow was for the joke. Yeah. Good job there, Jason.
Yeah, Tim Trebo, man. I don't know how big he is, but
I live in Texas, Rob. I know what football is.
There you go.
Well, I know you do, but But then again, Tim Tebow was splattered all over marketing back, 5-6 years ago. Whenever
well, and Tebow's got some other things, and that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But
it is.
I am fascinated by this idea that the markers, because again, actually, my first Bigfoot-esque encounter was with an X formation in just outside of Nacogdoches. We were, it was part of the archaeology class. We were out and we were going around some areas that's basically been left alone. Like, people aren't allowed in this particular area because they're running experiments.
Right.
And well, what kind of experiments do you run with archaeology? Well, actually, we often find things, right? And so the question is, well, we find them in a particular condition. So the question is, well, how did they get into that condition? We always have to assume. And so what they've started doing is creating like pottery and they'll set them up in a particular way and just leave them and see what nature does to these materials. What do animals do, so we can sort of better understand what we're finding. So people aren't supposed to be there, and we were walking around, and I kept seeing, and we found this X formation. It was clearly made, like it wasn't just a tree fall.
Right.
And I kind of looked at it and said, hey, what's up with this? It was one of the locals. She was also in the class, but she was from there. I said, what's up with this X formation? Why did somebody come out in the middle of nowhere and build this? And she says, oh, the stick Indians do that. And I was like, okay, that was it. It stuck in my head, but I at the time just sort of assumed, oh, stick Indian is probably just a local term for the Caddo that are still there.
Right.
Only to come to find out many years later that no, stick Indian was actually was essentially an English translation of the Caddo word for Bigfoot.
Right.
In fact, there's this quote they said where when the Caddo were being removed, they said, you can get us out, but you'll never remove the stick Indian. He was here before us. He'll be here after you. Right. So yeah, I mean the form. I find this idea that essentially it may not even be a clan tag, but a specific person, like a specific individual, and that they are doing something specific. It's like, no, it's more individual. It's not just a, for a good time call. Yeah. It's this is me. I am putting this here so you know that it's me. So yeah, that's I like that. It's an interesting concept.
They really are individually specific like that right there. A lot of people consider them to be forest people, and I don't have any problem with that either. We know that we know that probably skunk ape is a different kind of Bigfoot if it is Bigfoot, but we lump a lot of things together. But there's a lot of things also that could be segregated. Another interesting thing about Nacogdoches, I've done some research down in Nacogdoches and all those doggone swamps and things you got, but Nacogdoches was also the place where Davy Crockett had his first Bigfoot, or had his Bigfoot side.
Yep.
And so if you've been to Nacogdoches, you can see very well why Bigfoot will be there on into the big thicket in Texas, Sam Houston National Forest, cutting on over to Louisiana and everything like that. So man, that's a place that I've been every time I go around that area. I expect to see something, and if I don't, I'm not disappointed because of the flora and the fauna that's down there. Like I said, you find the tree structures. They build a lot of tree structures down there. So very, very lucky to live in a place like that right there.
We got about 4 minutes before break. I did have to ask you a question because Jason brought up something you did, Will, about the different classifications. We talk about the skunk ape in Florida. Now, of course, you can say Bigfoot, you can say Sasquatch, and there's Yeti, and there's Yowie, and there's all sorts. But when it comes to Arkansas, because for me, prior to really knowing much about the subject that we're talking about, when I hear Fouke Monster, now just for some people to get this straight, Will, Fouke Monster is Sasquatch or Bigfoot. It's not a crossbreed of something. It is, in your opinion, Sasquatch or Bigfoot, correct?
Right. The ones that I've seen, like I said, they have all tended to have the same characteristics. They tend to look more ape-like or gorillish, and that may upset some people. It's not meant to be because not all Bigfoot look the same. But they tend to have the cone heads. They've got the flatter nose. I mean, their heads are just set onto a set of trapezius muscles. There's not a neck. They just sit on that. Their shoulders are 4 foot wide. Behinds like basketballs, legs like tree trunks, and hands like dadgum mitts right there. And so, but they tend to all share those same characteristics. Most of the ones I've seen down there tend to be black. I have seen some brown ones or the pine needles or the rust colored ones down there.
Yeah.
I saw one time down there that it could have just been, it was during the daytime. It could have been just because of the sun there, but the sun was gleaming, made it look like it had a blonde tint. But again, that could have been a reflection off the hair rather than anything else. But they're not all the same. And anybody that says it is wants to try to lump them all in that one deal. They even down here, as a rule, though, they don't all have cone heads, and that could be a different species. Stephen and I call them Hanks, and I've talked to about 4 or 5 people that have seen the round-headed Sasquatch down here, as well as myself. I have as well.
Yeah, and really the only reason I pose that question is I've been doing this for a little while now. Some people just, they kind of, when they think Fouke Monster, they're not even thinking about a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. They're thinking about something else. So I did want to clarify that it is along the same species, the same family, if you will. We're talking about the same subject, because when you throw that word monster, people automatically think something other than, like, maybe the dog man. Hell, a dog man could be classified as a monster for all I know.
And the Fouke Monster has tended to have 3 toes, more so than the 5 toes. But I've got tracks of every toe number that there is down there. Also, the hands are consistently always seem to be 5 fingers of the handprints that I have found. But again, they are all just about the same as far as it goes. And the people I've talked to whenever that have also seen them, when I was a UPS man and got to go to Fouke, man, I was like a kid that was in a candy store that on his birthday, you know, he wanted roller skates and got a bike. I'm like, I'm here in Fouke, so I'm gonna get to talk to some of these people. And I did, and man, their sightings were the very same as what I had seen. So go ahead, Rob. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We're coming up on the 5-minute break. And, there's something I want to get into in the second half about these 3 toes, 4 or 5, because everybody seems to be confused, or there's always a different description. Well, if it's a 3-toed is this, a 4-toed is that. I'd like to see what your knowledge is on that. Run us through that a little bit. But Jason McLean, he's got to run. He's got some other things to do tonight on Untold Radio AM. So go check out Jason after this show, of course. He does a great show over there. And we'll be back with Will. And Will, really quickly for our other audience before we go, name of your book once again, and where can we find it?
It's Searching for the Unfindable, My Quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. You can find it on Lulu Books. You can find the paperback. You can also find it on Amazon, and you can find it on Kindle as well. So Kindle has the book on there, so you can find those on there. And like I said, it's for a 449-page book. You'd think you're going to pay $100. You're not. It's just, I've made it to where it's reasonably priced, and there's a lot of good information. I appreciate y'all asking. Jason, it was really good to meet you, man. Thank you, buddy.
Pleasure meeting you.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, and we're not going anywhere. We're staying. We got to take our 5-minute break. It'll be me and Will to close out the show. But Jason, have a good night, and everybody, go get your drinks, your whatever you got to get going for the next 5 minutes. We'll be back.
4 minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
I did it. I hit the ending instead of the 5-minute break. So that break was about a minute too long. Then I realized I had the ending video on. Good old BMR. He's good for something on a Thursday or Tuesday night. See, I even thought it was Thursday already. Great guest, great show. William Lunsford is with us. Don't forget, subscribe to Bigfoot Mystery Rob on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube, the Blondes, the Booze Paranormal Podcast. All shows. This show is being streamed on my channel and Texas channel. Mondays is Texas Front Porch, 9 o'clock in East. Tuesdays is Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in East. And Tuesday at 9 in East is Beyond BMR. Jason, who just took off, he does something called Mysterious Library on Radio, Untold Radio AM. Check him out when you get a chance. Wednesdays is Jason McLean questions everything that comes on at 9 in the East. Thursdays is Brunch with Bigfoot to Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. I have a great show lined up Thursday. Daniel Becker will be joining me, a friend of Williams, a friend of Stephen Hill's, a friend of Duke's, all around good guy. I've been speaking with him. That's going to be a fantastic show. I can't wait. Fridays, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast, 9 in the East on Friday. If you need more of the booze, the Blondes and the Booze are on Thursday and Friday. They're back-to-back Thursday and Friday, excuse me. My brain is racing. I'm ahead of myself because it's such a great show. And, of course, Saturday, Texas Front Porch, Infamous Minds, Danielle Diva. It's a true crime spin that they do. They've dropped 4 or 5 videos. Go check them out. They're on Saturday at 3 in the East. Without that being said, I'd like to also thank Be Kind, and I'd like to thank Derek for your awesome super chats. Super chat is a great way to support the channel. Love you guys. Thank you very much. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on the alert bell. I'm going to bring up William.
Thank you.
No problem. Man, I hit the wrong, but Jason left, and I got the video, so I put on the ending video. I said, oh, no, I forgot to put on the 5-minute break video. I don't think too many people noticed, so.
Hey, they know as fast as I talk, we're going to catch up, so they know.
Yeah, we're fine. No need to rush or rush our way through. So once again, thank you for that. Thank you for joining. And, we were talking, you had mentioned at the end of the bottom of the last hour, 3-toed, 4-toed, 5-toed. I've heard them all. In fact, there's a lot of reports that I get, William, about Dogman. It always seems like there's like the three long flanges or digits,
right?
An extended claw. So a lot of people associate that with Dogman. But I hear more and more about this with maybe the Gugwe. And from your experiences, again, William, I know you don't know anything, all this to be factual, but from your experience in the field, what is the more common when we're looking at these footprints? Because we've all seen the 5-toed, the castings and such, but what happens when you come across these oddities, these odd-shaped feet or foot, if you will?
Well, when I see those odd-shaped feet like that, the first thing it makes me think of is maybe there's another species that we're not classifying or that we're not necessarily recognizing. The Fouke Monster was known. 2 things that came up with Fouke Monster was the red eyes, which they don't always have red eyes when they have eye shine, and the 3-toed tracks. And I have not always found 3-toed tracks of these creatures down here. And I have found a bunch of tracks down here, but there's a lot of theories of that. Some people think it's actually a species trait. Some people think it's actually inbreeding. Some people think it actually could be a thing of diet. So again, till we get a body, and I don't want not encouraging anybody to kill one, but if you find one, make it to where it's public, where you've got some people there that can do some of the tests so that we can see maybe what's causing some of these things. And again, get them to where they're classified, to where we can maybe someday have them where we can study them, that you can bring your kids and your grandkids and see one of these things through the safety, of a encounter type. I don't want to say like Jurassic Park, but something like that right there, where they're dealing with their natural habitats. And so if you find something, again, bring it to somebody, and don't just always just call anybody, because there's a lot of people out there that will huckster you. And then 2, I don't necessarily have a whole lot of trust in our government. I've never called a government official on any of my sightings, or nor will I. As far as that goes, I just don't believe that they have the creature's best interest at heart just yet. Maybe they will if enough of us are doing like what we do now, meeting on these podcasts and talking and sharing the information that we have. Then maybe we can bring it to the forefront that, hey, if these people are people, then we need to know if they're a certain species. We need to know that too. And that's the only way we're going to do it, by doing what we're doing now and getting together and sharing this stuff. But again, I tend to find more, probably 4- and 5-toed tracks than I do the 3-toed tracks, even down here. But I do find a lot of 3-toed tracks, and I've got some that are casted there at Monster Mart in Fouke that you can see. And some of them are, the toes they're all tend to be probably 3 or 4 inches on those toes right there on the 3-toed track. I did find one which appeared to be a Gugwe that looked doggone like almost like big fat summer sausages there. 3 toes on the end right there. So until we can get more of those in there to compare, that's the hard thing about it. You say, oh shucks, I've actually got one that I found on the banks of Little River here in Arkansas as it comes out of Oklahoma. And as we were talking a while ago, and the thing actually, the thumb is actually, see if I can get this right to where it's on the camera there. The thumb is actually splayed way out like that. And then the other fingers are like this up here. So it's almost like a gorilla foot. And I found this on Father's Day in 2020. And they're right there on the banks of the Little River coming out of Oklahoma. Well, the way I know it was a Bigfoot because he was down in the river whenever me and my son pulled up there. I saw the hand wave. I parked, reached on the brakes on my truck, jumped over right quick. He took off up the side of the hill while I was driving away. Didn't get to see much, but he went into the woods. And whenever he went into the woods, I did a couple of calls. Man, they do respond to calls, people, regardless of what you've heard and how silly some of them sound. But mine tends to be, I tend to go with a barred out call. Well, he was going away. I did a barred out call. About 2 minutes later, man, when I did, he let us have it. I mean, just, he did it 3 different times with Reese right there. Reese went and actually got both his pistols because it scared him to death, because I don't think he was expecting that after we had seen the thing, for that thing to have that kind of, to hang around that long too, instead of taking off. But so it is. So you find these different kind of tracks, and it makes you think that, hey, there's a different species down here, maybe even more so than we know. And we don't know everything for sure, even about as many Bigfoot researchers as what we know.
And you make a great point, because do we know everything? Of course not. And the reason I asked that up, because you just brought up something that's really, I think people need to know or be more aware about when it comes to genetics. Like, just if a picture of a Bigfoot doesn't look like Patty, or if it doesn't have the 4 toes and the big toe, is something else. But we do have to remember, much like human beings, there's all sorts of human beings, right? All different races, shapes, and sizes. And there's also humans, unfortunately, that are born with medical problems. Some issues where they're handicapped. They might be missing a digit or what have you. So you always have to remember too. And a lot of people right away say it's misidentification. Well, no, it could be something in genetics with these creatures, or Bigfoot, or these humans, hybrid humans, right? That there's not everybody's going to look like Patty, and we're not going to get that Patty footprint every time you're out looking for Sasquatch.
Well, and it's funny that you say that, because that's true. Because I have in my possession, that one of mine, Stevens area there, I have the world's smallest that I know about and that I've ever even heard about, casted baby Bigfoot track. And it's a 3 3/4 inches from the tip of the toe to down to where the little heel is right there. But the strange thing about that is that's a 3-toe track. It's a 3-toe baby Bigfoot track. Now, we found the mama's track, and if this is the same one, she's got 5 toes on her feet. So again, we just can't say for sure. It doesn't. It could just be an anomaly. It could be one of anything, as you have said, that could contribute to that. And so don't tell somebody, same way with the pointed head and the round head. Don't tell somebody, well, you ain't seen no Bigfoot because it doesn't have the pointed head or the round head. No, that's not so. If I could show you, I've got a bunch of pictures on here. Me and Stephen do. Some of them are from my cell phone. Some of them are from a regular, like Canon type camera. Some of them are from the game cameras and things. And folks, they don't all look alike. They don't all have the same heads. They don't all have the same fingers, the same. Some of them, boy, have got just shoulders 4 foot wide. I'm 2 foot wide at the shoulder. Some are 4 feet wide at the shoulder, man. And so they're different. The very first Fouke Monster tracks that they found, the toes on the 3-toe track appeared to be long and skinny, more like blasted fingers, like this right here at the end, rather than the regular, like what we would consider to be toes. The man whose mother casted that, I saw him this about 2 weeks ago. He was at the Fouke conference there, a man named Tom Zorn. And so I've actually seen that track up close several times, and it looks more almost like an elongated hand rather than a foot. Does that mean it was not Bigfoot? No, it doesn't mean it's not Bigfoot at all. It just means it's a difference in the species, or a difference in some kind of a natural progression there as far as its lifetime.
Yeah, and that's why I even wanted to bring that up, because a lot of people are quick to dismiss if it doesn't look exactly like it is. People, and I'm not even referring to people in our chat, or I'm not referring to people that are going to listen later, but I come across people who say, well, it can't be this or that because it just doesn't match up. Well, none of it's going to match up. None of it's ever going to match up. There's going to be a lot of commonalities. There's going to be a lot of similarities. But if everything was the same, then what exactly are we dealing with, right? It would be more, to me, it would be more of a hoax if everything was identical, correct?
That's right. That's when you're suspicious of footprints, when they're all the cookie cutters, that they all look the same way. Yeah, but when they're different, they have different flexions of the toes, different numbers of toes, and that lends more credibility to the fact than if they all were the same. And they're not, man. That's one thing that I learned. I used to tell people, say, oh, yeah, Bigfoot, they've got the cone heads. Everyone's got the cone head. Everyone's got the three toes. Man, I learned very different, especially within the last 5 or 6 years as I began to get more and more pictures of my own, have more and more sightings of the creatures with my eyes, and that they're not the same. Like I said, their heads are different. Their hands, their body shapes are different. I've seen them 6.5 foot tall, skinny as a piece of spaghetti, and then I've seen some that were just robust as they could be. So for people to say that, they're actually limiting their own knowledge on that, because they're going to find that that's not true. And one of my next books I'm going to do is going to be me and Steve are going to do a Bigfoot picture book of all the different faces. I try not to put anything out there that you can't see a face on. And we've got a G and Bob Squatches they're Bigfoot. There's no doubt about it. But I'm not just going to put up a black shadow up and say, okay, take my word, this is Bigfoot. But I'm going to try for us to do a Bigfoot picture book of all the faces and to show, just like I said, how they have the different heads. They have the different slant on the forehead. They've got the different noses. Some of the noses that we have up there in northern Arkansas have actually got little snouts to them rather than just being flat faced like what the ones have here in Fouke. So if we get that done, I think that'll be really interesting for a lot of people to say, golly, man, just because you're not experiencing it doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah, and even accounts of like the wild man back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, the wild man was always depicted as not a 10-foot tall, 4 foot wide creature back in the day. It was always maybe 5'8", 6'2", 300, 400 pound skinny guy running through, which a lot of people have set credence to. On some of I think one of the encounters, I can't remember off the top of my head, it was a wild man, but yet going back and doing further research, it ended up being a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot.
Right.
But just thank you, Red Creek Mafia.
Yeah, we're 30 miles from my house, a place called Paraclifta, where one of the very first Arkansas Bigfoot was seen. Or there was actually, like you said, called the Wild Man. They called it the Wild Man. Bigfoot didn't come around until maybe 1958, as far as what they called him and stuff. All the Indian tribes we all know have got their own name for them. Now, what that should tell us is the fact that they have their own name, all these different names. The Indians back then did not communicate with each other as having a powwow and smoking the peace pipe. The Indians ended up attacking each other and turning the other ones into the other tribes into slavery. So the fact that they all have this creature, quote creature, this being in their backline and their folk, and not necessarily folklore, on their totem poles, shows that these things have been here for a long time. They're in all parts of the United States. So everybody thinks it started in Oregon. The earliest sighting that I found, and I looked that up a lot, I discussed that with everybody that tends to be in that, is 1721 in Natchez, Mississippi, back when it was still the Louisiana Purchase, not even a state or anything else like that. Arkansas was 1834, and that was 2 years before Arkansas became a state and before the Civil War. So we look at that right there, and when we just put those absolutes on there, like I said, we're limiting our knowledge, what we can learn ourselves, but also what we can share with other people.
Absolutely. You sent me so many pictures. I'm going to roll through a few more pictures here. And I don't know if they're out of order, Will. I'm sorry, but when I downloaded it, but I know that you know what they are, so you can kind of walk us through some of them. I'm just going to go from the top here.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then see. And I think we've seen this one. No, we did not see this. I don't know if people can see that. To me, right off the bat, it looks like a dog to me, but you can explain it.
Yeah, it looks like a dog back there in the back. Back there is what somebody has back there. Looks like maybe a dog head or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what. Like I said, I've had some friends send me some of them pictures, but some of them have been interesting on there as far as for what you've got. So that right there, for that picture right there, I can see what looks to be a dog's head back there in the back, or else it could just be almost like what you have, almost like a baboon's head, like the divided skull. So that right there, that's an interesting picture for somebody has right there.
Okay, well, here's one here. Now here's one.
Okay, here's one right here. Like I said, I sent this one to you, and I also sent another one where it's circled. The reason this is because I watched him pop his head up. I was in there on the side of the woods, and there's a brush top right there, and I could hear the noise, and I was just about to dismiss it as being a squirrel. And all of a sudden, he pops his head up. Now, you can't see it as clear, but you can see it has a round head. It doesn't have the cone head. You can see the flat nose, and you can also see the two eyes right there. So there he is, and that's about 50 miles. north here. If that's not Bigfoot, then there's an ape-ish or ape man or man ape here in Arkansas. But that's what they is. And I actually watched him pop that head up. I got that with my cell phone camera.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see it there.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. We might have showed this in before right here. This was a picture that was going to go into the Arkansas Museum. This right here, I watched the show this morning, man. I was in there watching Finding Bigfoot. It was one of the reruns. I'd never seen it before. Some on Uwharrie National Forest, and the man named Mike Green, I think was what his name was, had a Bigfoot reaching across a stump to get a candy bar. Well, coincidentally, before I even knew anything about this, me and Stephen have been baiting our Bigfoot in front of the cameras with candy bars now for 6 or 7 years. This right here is the stick. You see, I had to rebuild that as a, quote, altar, so to speak, for him to come in so he could hide. But that's actually the close-up of a Bigfoot head, the black spot right there that you see, the black brow ridge, the silver brow ridge, the black, that's the eyes. And then in front, you can see the fingers on that Bigfoot's right hand, and he's got his hand wrapped around a snack-size Snickers bar. Again, that was going to go into the Arkansas Museum up there on the banks of the Arkansas River until we got COVID, and that kind of just knocked us out. But that's a really, really, I saw the body cast into the ground before when me and Stephen walked up to it and to where the grass was. And you can see the thickness up there in the forehead, how much hair he's got. He's got more hair right now on that than I've ever had in my whole life, and that's quite a bit, you know. So, but that's it. But that's actually the real thing. That's taken from about 3.5 feet away.
And yeah, and the thing about this picture too is, like, if you were just showing this to the average person, it took me maybe a couple minutes to kind of process everything, but you can see the bridge,
Yep.
you know, the bridge line. You can see the eye socket, the dark eye, and the hair on top, and it got cut off at the top, and it looks like it's even shaping up to be a little bit conical. Even, I mean,
yeah, it is a cone head for sure.
Yeah. So that's
it right there. Like I said, that's about 50 miles north of here, right there. And we have been getting that was, I think, in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. But we've been getting pictures there in March off that same place. We called that the candy store. That's where we were putting our candy bars out, and they were coming through there every time and getting it. So that was a picture that was off the candy store right there. They visited that. In 2019, we got a picture almost every day of a different Bigfoot coming through and getting Snickers bars off that candy store there.
Mm-hmm. Cool, very cool. Let's see, we saw this earlier.
Yep, that's the one that's hiding in there. Okay, this is the one that Daniel had there that we got the picture of. And that shows what a great researcher Daniel's going to be, man. Like I said, to have the foresight to have that photographer already lined up and have Marzulli already lined up, and just a very, very humble man. And I think that's one that's going to be a key to his success. You're really going to enjoy it, folks. After y'all hear him, y'all aren't going to want me back on anymore. So go ahead.
And some of these I'm replaying because a lot of people are joining later. But you know what I love about this picture, and you showed this, I think, last time. Yeah, you can definitely see. I mean, you can very distinctly see the head. You can see the mouth.
Yep.
Right. You can see the nose. Again, the eye on this one very similar to the picture that I showed 2 or 3 pictures ago.
And the thing about this one right here is he's 10.5 foot tall. I didn't get to go down there. I probably wouldn't have the same day. Seeing that hand right there in the middle probably meant there's a baby on there or a juvenile or even an infant. I probably would not have gone down the same day, just rather than tempt fate. But I did go back about 3 or 4 days later with a meter stick. And that right there is 10.5 foot tall. Also, you see the need they have to hide. He's stuck back there. You can't hardly see him without that eagle eye of the camera. And then me and Daniel I was kind of pointing out where he needed to take the grid pictures at, but one great mind and then one pitiful mind working together, we were able to get that photo. That's one of the best Bigfoot pictures you're ever going to see.
I really love that one. I just had to show it again. And this here, I see something peering out on will be our right, I believe. Yeah.
And what we did, we showed this, I think, last time on your show there. There's me and Daniel are down there. And Daniel's behind me. He'd been treed by some hogs that morning. So he's behind me, and I've got the gun. There's my orange hat, and I'm looking to the right because we're getting a lot of noise over there. One classic Bigfoot trait is whenever they have gotten separated or they've got a juvenile or an infant over there, something like that, they're going to start making a lot of racket so that you stop and you start putting all your attention over here where this is, and then whatever it is going to cross the road, they're going to get back together. So that's more than likely what this was. I'm sitting there looking to the right. I've got my 45-70 in my hand, not to shoot Bigfoot. But we're hearing the noise, and Daniel's taking the picture behind me, and then he sends it to me a little bit later. I said, Daniel, look here. So sure enough, while I'm standing there, this Bigfoot up there is probably 40 yards ahead of us, peeking out behind this tree. You can see it just plain as day.
Oh yeah.
And so again, that shows their need to hide. They're right there. I missed him. I didn't see him, folks. He was standing right there, but because I was paying so much attention to the stuff on the other side. But that's a really neat picture that even I'm proud of, but also surprised by. You know.
Oh yeah.
That just shows their intelligence and not mine.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Man, this right here, folks, this is one of the coolest pictures. I didn't take this picture. This is a picture by a friend of mine named Michael Wally. Michael got this picture in Oklahoma. There's 2 or 3 pictures. They're actually seen about 5. Inside what you're seeing right there, that is the mouth of a cave or a crevice there. Okay. There's actually about 5 Bigfoot that are in the mouth in that brush pile that you see that they pulled in front of there for people not to see. You can look at the top, probably 5/8 of the way up there, the top of that structure, and you can see a hand sticking out there. The hand is pointed, as I'm looking at it, to my right, but you can see one of the Bigfoot hands sticking out of the brush top. You can look almost right below that hand. You see almost not a snout, but like a muzzle. You can see a muzzle of a Bigfoot right there with the nose. Then in the middle, you can see one that has his head tilted like that right there that has the same kind of block teeth that what I have showed y'all before. It's really, really black right there. And so you can see the eyes as well. You see the nose is really far up there. Then down there below it, you can see one that is hairless. It's a baby. You can see fingers on the side of its face. If I had a laser pointer, I could do. But anyway, there's 5 or 6 Bigfoot in this one top. Michael is standing there, and his girlfriend is taking the picture of him. And again, Michael's the same thing happened. I used to joke with Michael that, how did you not see that? Well, like I said, I just told y'all I didn't see that one. Well, Michael's got 5 of them right there, but they didn't give themselves away. They didn't try to stink him out. They didn't make any noise. But there's 5 or 6 Bigfoot. And I'm leaning towards 6 in this one rock crevice right there. And so that's one of the greatest pictures I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I can see most everything you're telling me right now.
They're there.
Yeah.
And so it's, again, if I had a laser pointer, I could show you every one of them.
Yeah.
Still, for that right there, that just goes to show that.
And that hand is really distinguished. I can now, the more you, I mean, a lot of times too, you gotta really look at these, and I can I can actually count 4 fingers.
Oh yeah, you can. And that the reason I saw that, Mary Bowen, she sent that to me. Mary's a very, very good researcher. We call her Bigfoot Mary. And so she sent that. She goes, William, I know that there's a Bigfoot here because I told Michael, I said, I see that hair. So Mary, what about that hand sticking out of the top? And she goes, oh my gosh, I didn't even see that. Well, man, you can sneak a Dawn past a rooster for you can sneak a Bigfoot past Mary. But that just goes to show we're all putting our heads together to find something like that. And that is a great picture. And when you look at it, again, you look at the picture I showed of the one that was biting the camera last time. That thing right there has got the big block teeth. It's got the muzzle. It's got the same kind of nostrils. And you can see the eyes right there. You see the black fur. So really a great, great picture. You might look at that one, Rob, later on after we're through looking at it, because that's really a good picture.
Yeah, I will. We've got several more left. But you know what? I just had someone pop in on me. And I know because one of your biggest fans, as well as mine, I'm making sure he's ready. We got a surprise guest. Gave me the thumbs up. Let me just get rid of this for a moment. Hey, there he is.
Hey. I thought that was Charlie Daniels there for a minute, coming back from the grave. That's my boy Tex.
How you doing, brother?
Doing good, brother. Good to see you. Thank you.
Man, it's good to see you. It's been a little bit.
It has, man. I appreciate this opportunity again to be with y'all and to be with the fans that you have of your show. Folks, if you don't realize what it takes to put together a podcast of what these guys put together, truly, as much as I love to talk, and you know I love to talk, but these guys have to be able to do it for 3 hours, almost like what Rush Limbaugh or some of these other people have to do. They have to have questions that they think are going to be interesting to you guys. And have a guy like me who's on here who's you never know what you're going to get. It's like Forrest Gump.
We love having guys like you on the show because it does take some time to think. See, we don't script anything. We're all fly. We're on the fly, and it's always great when somebody has a lot of experiences and research and pictures to recant on, because me and Texas kick back in the audience and we just enjoy it. And that's why I always love having you on. And again, Tex, I think it's like the 5th or 6th time. We're on 6 days a week, damn near. So it's a nice refresher.
I mean, that's why I encourage people to not just hawking my book, guys. This is 40 years of research right here. You see how
Right.
thick it is. Like I said, I made sure we got color pictures on it.
Yeah.
But-
And by the way, too, I really quickly on my Facebook page, it's on my regular page, and I've got it on Brunch with Bigfoot Mission Rob page. That book is the pictures right there plastered on Facebook, and I'll also have all the links for everybody to pick up a copy, because I certainly know I'm going to pick one up because it's everything that Will has compiled over 40 years, and Will's well worth it. I don't even know how much it costs, but I know it's well worth it.
I said right now it's $30 there. But the thing about that picture that you see on the front of this book right here is actually a picture of the first Bigfoot that I saw. I did it in a sketch drawing for my son one Sunday morning there in church. You can see it standing there looking at me right as it's there by the tree. But they added a little bit of color to it. The face that's it right there. That's what I actually saw looking at me right as he stands up from that tree right there. And you can see that the quote gorilla type look he has right there. He's about 7.5 or 8 foot tall, but the long arms that nearly touch his knee, the big feet that he has right there. And that's what I saw. And I showed that my son actually wanted me to draw it, and I do it, and it nearly scared him to death. And so, but that's as close as I could come. I'm not a great artist, but that's so burned in your memory. If I had to draw that 100 times, I would draw it the same way every 100 times.
I got to tell you something, Will, and Tex knows this. I don't always like to bring up my encounter, but I'm just right now, I just got a flashback of my encounter. And when I see mine standing at the shoreline with the arms on the side, it was with the shaggy, like this appears like you drew shaggy hair on it, correct?
Right.
Now when it took the arms and raised them, now if it was a fringy hair hung down.
Right.
Now the head is still different because the face of mine was still more weird. I mean, it was just weird looking. Okay,
Yep.
I always say Down syndrome. That's what I go with. But this even looks a little more Bigfootish than mine because it's still the face of mine. But now, if you look at the body, if people are listening or watching, the body is pretty much the shape. The arms almost down past the knees. Yeah, that's basically the body of mine, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, that's the commonality they have. You know, me and you are what, 2,000, 2,500 miles away, and they're basically, you look the same way right there. And one characteristic that they tend to share is just hanging around the rivers. I know yours or the waters, yours pretty close to the water. So,
Yep.
So that's it. And that's the picture that you see that's on the cover of the book. They added some artwork to it. I think they made it a little better in some ways, maybe not quite as scary in others, but Bigfoot is an encounter. It's what you get. You don't always get the scary look. You know, that's what they did with Harry and the Hendersons when John Lithgow's daddy drew all the hairy teeth and all the other stuff, trying to get people to go out and shoot it. Guys, if they were going to be that aggressive at all, y'all would have another guest tonight. And that's the truth. It wouldn't be me because they've had the opportunity to get me. And so far I'm still here and hope it stays that way, you know.
Oh yeah.
You'd be talking to 3 different people because there wouldn't be none of us here.
Yeah, right.
Exactly right. Because we all three wouldn't any 3 of us be there. It would be, you know, Rob's front porch and Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brunch on the porch.
There you
Scrambled eggs on the porch.
That's
Scrambled brain matter. Well, yeah, no, that's, you know, fantastic. That's a great rendition. And again, the color is Will's book, and you guys can check it on the Facebook group if you want to go look at it, because I have it there. And I will drop the links. Will, later on tonight or tomorrow, drop me the link if there's an Amazon link or anything that I can, so people can click on it, because I'm sure this will get viewed several times.
I'll be glad to do it, and I appreciate anybody that buys it, number one. But again, like I said, I didn't write it to make money. I've already spent $4,000 publishing that book. It's going to take a whole lot to get that published, to get that money back, because I'm going to if I get all these first orders sold, then I'll be right there just even to where I can start maybe with the next order in the black. I did this, like I said, because it's something that I believe in. It's something I know is real, something you guys know is real. Yeah. Y'all heard me say time and time again, this is not a Bigfoot show. Well, if he's real, it's going to do it. No, he's real. And that's just the honest truth about it. And if not, I may be crazy, but I'm not crazy enough to keep looking for something that doesn't exist. If the amount of this isn't an inexpensive hobby, y'all know that right there. It costs you quite a bit to go some places, even your doggone food bills, you know, not including your gas and everything else too. So again, this is something that I believe with all my heart, and I'm wanting to share it with everybody. And for everybody, if they all had their own Sasquatch sighting, hopefully it would be one of the good ones like what I've had. But again, there's nothing more interesting, because this creature is 9 and 10 feet tall, and some of them they say are bigger, and yet it's managed to stay hidden all this time? How did it do that? Because the Lord gave it a set of survival instincts and survival skills that we don't have as people, and that we can't even understand, I don't think.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I think it's, and I know there's a lot of people out there that think like this, and I don't blame them. I really don't. That think these things are they call them monsters. They call them demons. They call them the fallen. They call them I just can't take that step.
No, no.
Not with the physical creatures that we're dealing with. Now because that's very important, because we're dealing with more than one phenomenon now.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about it. You know, and that's the thing right there. The folks that don't want to accept what we tell them because they haven't experienced it, but we are dealing with more than one phenomenon. Me and Stephen are finding more and more things. I'm a big Bible believer. I had thought there for a long time the days of demons were over, but man, we're getting some pictures out there that truly are scaring me to death. And that's on, and I don't go out with armed to the biggest gun I've got for those things, not for Bigfoot, but for what these guys, they're just enough to just, to just blow your mind. So it is, there's things out there that we don't know. And anybody that says they do, they're pulling your leg. That's the ones you need to be aware of.
Yeah. And I don't think that, well, I'm not sure a gun would help us too much in some of these things that we're running across. That's the.
Well, you're exactly right. We don't know how to deal with those things. We're not prepared to deal with those things. Me and Steve,
I think the best weapon we've got, aside from a 45, is our faith.
We tend, as Americans, anything we don't understand, we classify them as monsters just because we don't understand them. I said, I've seen a mother Bigfoot with two babies, actually two mama Bigfoots with twins. Man, just as nurturing to those little infants is what a mother human being would do. And also, as far as for being tolerant of me and my son sitting there watching them, they're back up there in a bush, sitting there watching us, waiting to come eat some catfish heads that some people had to sit there. And she was just as patient with us. She could have run us off at any time. And I guarantee you, my truck would still be there because I'd have just took off running. I wouldn't have took the time to even get in there. But she's just as patient with us as what she was with those infants that she had her. So like I said, that the loving degree that they have towards their own, it's that's something I saw. And then too, the 7-footers I told you about, that walking down the hill and they're pushing on each other, playing like two brothers do, and there's a picture of them in there, Rob. Matter of fact, you can see I've got them, I think, circled there. But
I think I got a couple. I'm going to bring a couple more up in the beginning. I just want to reflect on what you and Tex just said. Yeah, as far as the gun, the shooting thing, okay, fine. And first, none of us would do that. For any idiot that's going to line one up and shoot it, well, there's more around. Just because you see the one, the other one's going to get you. You might wound it. You're not going to do any damage. And Big Brother is in back of you by about 30 yards or closer. That's going to snatch you up.
Jurassic Park talking about the raptors. It's not the one you see; it's the two you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
They're a clannish type being, and so you got more around than just that one. Unless you just have a rogue that's trying to go. And
there's an account that I've got on the channel, and this cat is he's scouting out a hunting lease before season, to get the lay of the land. He's trying to decide if he wants to get on his hunting lease is what he's doing. He's out there, scoping it out and everything. And he sees something, and it's been a long time since I've done the encounter, so I might be sketchy on the details, but he either sees something or hears something on this dam of this pond on this lease. And he's got his rifle with him, and he scopes down on it, and up pops what looks like almost a ape-like creature. Head just pops up over the top of the dam, and he puts his crosshairs on it, and the damn thing looks at him and shakes his head no. I mean, if when I first read that encounter, and I was narrating and everything, that sent chills down my spine.
And if y'all want to experience that, go back and look at Harry and the Hendersons there towards the end of that book when the thing does the same thing that John Lithgow. Now you think, oh no, that's just sensationalism. That's just making a movie. No, that's true. They have an understanding of us a whole lot more, I think, than what we have of them right there.
Yeah, they understand. I think, and we've talked about this before. They understand intent.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. And dogs understand intent.
Yep.
And down here down south, they realize that we get a daggum gun before we get a baby rattle when we're born. So so they know what to do with.
We get a box of bullets.
That's it right there. That's right.
You get out of your
teeth on shotgun shells.
Yeah. The minute some yahoos get out of their beater 1981 pickup truck, all shot to hell, wearing their fatigues, they got the bullets hanging around their neck, and they smell all gunpowder, and they're going, yeah, give them some Bigfoot. They're not going to get anything. They'd be lucky to get a chipmunk. That's just the intent, like you guys are saying. The intent is what it's all about. You go in and say, hey, I'm here to enjoy the wildlife. If I come across you fellas, so be it, right?
It's like that Oklahoma bounty that they put on there. Oklahoma's a state right next to mine. Great people in Oklahoma. They've been so receiving of me, been there in my research and stuff like that right there. But as far as for actually capturing one of these things, man, that's like, well, if I put on these tennis shoes and I jump over the moon, then I'm going to get a $10 million sales contract. You can say that and you can guarantee it, because the fact is I'm not going to jump, and they're not going to capture one of these things. They may shoot one, but if they do, getting it out is going to be another thing. And then if they miss, then they've got something on their hands that they're not quite ready to deal with.
Yeah, and even like I say, well, even if they hit it, like in a peck, not around the heart, I mean, how much damage? I mean, I guess you'd have to have a very big weapon to do some damage or to wound them. But again, I'm the believer, like you are too, in Tex. There's 3 around, 4 around the family. Now, you did mention the rogue. I'm convinced that I think mine perhaps was a rogue. Right. Then again, I was told I was in a family area. That's why he yelled at me. So again, everything's always up to debate. That's why we never have 100% finite answers. But yeah, I mean, it's just the name of the game today.
It is, and and for those things right there, and that's what I don't want. I don't want somebody down there that's been down there. I generally don't tell people where most of my areas are, and for this, not because I'm trying to be a stinker, but because I don't want somebody going there with a gun when I'm gone, and then wherever I come back, they've done shot at one or wounded one, and then all of a sudden, then I get to bear the brunt of this being's anger for something stupid that they did. I think they recognize Stephen and I've told y'all that before. There's no doubt in my mind that they recognize us when we drive up. They recognize our vehicles. I do a certain call. I think they recognize my call. But I don't want to suffer the brunt of that and somebody else breaking my trust with these beings on the area that we go to. Because we've been in this area about 6 years. Y'all mentioned a while ago, the longer you are in an area, the more trusting of you they become. And that's a fact. That's one reason Finding Bigfoot didn't find any more. The only one they ever found, actually, that I know of was down there on the show called Return to Boggy Creek. And they found the one that me and Reese, my son, called one knocker. He'll knock one time, he'll follow you down the creek, and that's it right there. But that is probably one because they're not in an area that's long enough to do that, to develop a trust. Because these things, man, they're not dumb, boy. I mean, they're smart.
Yeah. So I got a few more pictures. I know Tex joined us. Thank you, Tex, by the way, for popping. I do appreciate it. I know you want to see Will. We were in the middle. I want to knock out some of these pictures because you took the time to send these, Will. So I'm going to fire through a few of them here. Yeah. And again, I might not spend as much time, but we'll just go on and take it from there.
All right, here, this is one we're talking about. Again, need to hide. There's one right there that you can't see as well. That's all these pines right here on the right-hand side of that picture as we're looking. Those thin pines. There's one's actually in there kind of squatted down. But then if you look on the left, I've got it circled. There's that Bigfoot right there. My wife is probably 25 foot away from right there. Yeah. And I hear him walking up there. And so I told Cindy, I said, you need to take some pictures. I said, there's a Bigfoot there. Well, she took some pictures. I thought this was her picture, but actually it's the one that I took there whenever it came up because I thought she got the better picture. But you can see over there in the circle, that Bigfoot that's walking over, it's walking right towards her. they can hide. They have that need to hide. So that's their way of number one, preserving their own species, I guess, or till they at least get a good look at us. And when they do, so you see that picture there in red, that is actually a Bigfoot that's walking up on my wife. Didn't hurt her, anything else like that. And like I said, I took that picture really more for the one that was in the middle of these pine trees there, but then that one was on the peripheral right there.
Yep. Very nice. And here's something here.
Okay, this one right here, like I said, this is one, I've probably only seen 4 with the patty style head. It's got the what we call the helmet. It's got the crest up there, the sagittal crest, and then the face is cleared away. And right around through here, and through, she's actually got the beard. And so that right there, like I said, I'm driving down County Road. I look out there, and there's actually 2 more at the bottom of this tree. They're not as big, but I see that Bigfoot. I stop. It sits there and stares at me just like I'm staring at it. I'm like, well, you're going to give me time to take a picture. I'm going to take one. So I whipped out my cell phone, and so I was able to get that picture. But you see the eyes, you see the nose, you see the sagittal crest on the head, and you see the patty type helmet hair, so to speak. Kind of what I get when I go to the barbershop.
I do see that. That looks pretty cool. Here's something here. It appears to be pretty wicked looking, but I can't tell. It's the small pull it up here.
Okay, this one here, this actually is, I went down about 4 days, like I told y'all, to take that picture of to check the measurements, the one that Daniel and I got the picture of. I'm down there probably 20 to 30 feet from away from this is. I'm sitting there looking through the woods. I can hear the movement. And all of a sudden, this one right here that you see inside the red line pops his head up. You can see the nose. You can see it actually has kind of a daggum muzzle too as well, or like lips stuck in it, like some of these models that we have nowadays there in the magazines. But you can also see the eyes. And the longer it sit there and stared at me, the more those eyes begin to almost like self-illuminate. They begin to kind of turn kind of a silverish white color. So he's not real happy that I'm there. And finally, you can see the sagittal. He's got kind of a sagittal crest on his head. And so you see, and finally I decided to leave because he just sit there and he kept that same pose, no joke, for about 3 to 4 minutes, never moved, only blinked. And it made me more uneasy, I think, than what it was with him. So anyway, I decided, well, maybe he's saying, hey, I'm making my stand right here. You don't need to come down here. And so, but that's not but probably 25 to 30 feet away with my cell phone. So I actually got that with my cell phone.
Well,
are you sure? Go back to that one for a second.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's a Bigfoot?
Well, not exactly sure. I know it's some kind of being because I watched him pop that head up. He's behind that tree and he lifts it up and he's sitting there looking at it. Again, any picture you'll see of Bigfoot, you'll notice the head as a rule is always tilted about 5 to 10 degrees, something like that. I found that to be a commonality in a lot of the Bigfoot photos that I get. You see that head being tilted like that. You see the nose. Again, like I said, kind of the muzzle type mouth going straight across. But I'm not sure it is a Bigfoot type creature anyway of those that we have up on that area right there.
Because I'm that protruding. It almost looks like he's got a face deformity.
Yeah,
like he's got a cheekbone that's protruding out of his face, and his mouth is shifted to that one side. It could have been an injury, I guess.
We have another one we call Macho Man. That's the same way. It looks like Macho Man Randy Savage has the same kind of disformities of its face, but the facial expression it make it looks just like Macho Man, the ex-wrestler right there. So they do get injured. They're not. It could be from other Bigfoot. It could be from falling out of a tree. You don't know limb falling, but it is. But it looks like he's actually got the deformity right there, and that proves again that that they're just like we are in a lot of ways.
Well, we talked about that earlier. Not everything's going to be patty looking, and right. Now the text brings it up. He does bring some points that may perhaps a deformed Bigfoot, or again, you never know, something else. Perhaps we don't know, but I can actually see some teeth in the mouth there too.
Exactly.
You can see a lot of different things in this picture.
Because it looks like he's got just a horrendous overbite.
Oh yeah, and that's it. That's what I noticed right there. That's another thing that made me decide I'd just back on up there. Better teeth like that right there, man. He could bite you and never have to move from where he's standing right there with those choppers, So.
Well, hell, he looks like he could eat corn through a picket fence.
This next picture right here is a picture that's really, really good. This is a picture of Stephen. We're talking about Bigfoot's need to hide in there. That's 1, 2, 3, about 5 or 6 Bigfoot right there. Stephen's on his logging machine up there on the hills in the Ouachita Mountains. And you see the great big one right there, the tallest one that's on the kind of the left-hand side median of the picture. Then you've got 2 more there on the right-hand side and then 2 more down there on the bottom down there. and they're sitting there staring at Steven. Steven's working on his log machine. Things, grinding through like there as far as. But then you see how they're sitting there staring at him, but they've got that need to hide. They're not going to just sit there and just stand right there, and say, well, here, just take a picture of me like that. But they've got that need to hide. So that's why a lot of people, this presentation that I'm doing, as far as when the guy asked me, man, how come I've never seen one? He wasn't being a stinker. He wanted to see a Bigfoot so bad he couldn't stand it. So that's one of the reasons that I did this presentation as well, because they have that need to hide. And when you start looking at them from a different way, looking for where they like that one there that hid there, generally there's 2 or 3 limbs coming through there before you see where the face is or something like that. So you'll see that. And once you start showing them kind of where they are right there on the edge of that wood line, then more people have an opportunity to see them. So that's the reason, again, with this presentation. And Steven's right there. That's from Stephen Hill, man. Steven's honest as day is long. He ain't told a lie in his life, and he's still the same way, same kind of man.
Oh, yeah.
And conviction. So lucky to have him as my partner. But that's one from his while he's actually on there cutting logs.
Yep, come on, cool. Now don't go off like that. There won't be any living with him.
Well, hey, I guarantee you, he did an outstanding job as a speaker in Nebraska.
Oh yeah,
and
Steven was out a couple weeks ago too. By the way, awesome,
yeah, he was.
dude.
And then the people of Nebraska treated us just as well, man. And boy, just can't say enough about that. It was a very, very pleasurable experience. Here we are, two guys from LA, Lower Arkansas, going up there, and they were just as genuine and kind as they could be. This is Gugway. This is a Gugway I told y'all. I stood in there underneath that X tree right there, and he starts running across on all fours. I'm thinking he's a hog. Well, whenever I get up there and he walks into the brush, I'm running over there trying to catch him. And so whenever I do, he hides behind a root system of a big log linger, and he's waiting on me to walk through because he's fixing to kill me. There's no doubt about it. I've got a friend of mine that's a Native American. I asked him, so what do you know about Gugway? I sent him the picture. He goes, oh my gosh, Will. He said, tell me you left. I said, I did. I said, I actually ran for the first time since 1977. And again, that's 2000 right there, year 2000, March 2000. And he said, thank goodness. He said, did the thing look over its shoulder? I said, yeah, it did. How did you know? He said, because that's a Gugway. He said, he was fixing to kill you. And he was actually hunting with a partner. So that's again, like I said, you see the snout on there, like what a dogman has.
I see that, yes, for sure.
Brow ridge on his eye. So that's actually a Gugway right there, and that's the reason I carry that 4570. He's not going to be as lucky as his brothers, the gentle Bigfoot, if he decides to come after me, because I'm gonna have him. Yeah,
again, that's really cool. And
as soon as you pop that picture up, Big went Gugway.
Exactly. Right here, there's this picture. There's another picture real similar. I circled it, but right there in the middle of that picture, the exact middle, there's a adult Bigfoot, very skinny, walking away from the edge of that tree line. And then down there, right on the edge of the tree line, where you see just above those kind of speed-colored pines, you'll see 2 more standing there on the edge. There's 3 of them standing right there on the edge of that field. Right
I see the one to the left, and this guy here looks like he's got his back turned to us. Is that correct?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I got it. So that's it. So again, why don't we see him? I was just lucky right there with that right there, and then my game cam picked that up actually. But I've seen that pose before when they're turning around to lead. Like I said, they turn that whole body around to look at you. That's what got on my game cam right there. But then need to hide, there it is, and that's why we're not seeing as many of them as what we think we would.
All right. Moving on here.
Okay, man. This right here is this picture right here is one I would give $10,000 truly, and that's not an exaggeration. If it's a little clearer, we got 3 circles there. That right there is just after Stephen and I put out a game camera. Those 2 in the left-hand side circle, there's a tree that's dividing them. That's actually 2 twin 7-footers that I watched as soon as I pulled up. They were walking down the edge of that tree line. You can see the big old butts on them. You can see the muscles in the back. You see the muscles in the arms. There on the next over there to the right, a little bit far down, there's 3 of them sitting right there that are hiding, looking at my game cam. Then in the other circle, there's 2 of them that are standing right there. And then just inside the woods, I have one there that's actually eating a Snickers bar that's on all 4s. But this right there, Steve and I are not even, our trucks are right there at the top where you see the sky that meets the edge of the ground right there. Our trucks are just there to the left. We're still in the daggum woods and are still in the field right there. And these Bigfoot are already out looking at the camera that we just placed out. And we put Snickers bars out there naturally. So that's what they're probably doing in there. But they're hiding, got that need to hide, but they're going to watch that game camera because that's the first time they've been there. They're so familiar with their area. They knew it shouldn't have been there, whatever it was, but they're sitting there staring at it. And folks, I wish it was clear. but sometimes that's what you get. But man, I did watch those.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about anyway. They're not all gonna be clear. We all get that. And here's something here. Oh, I see this one. Perfect.
Yep, you see that right there. Like I said, right there, you see that right there, standing there looking. That's off Stephen up there, just around that same little area up there, around probably about not too far from Grandis, Arkansas. They close to Grandis, Arkansas.
You know what? Right there, you see that green tint like we've been seeing here lately.
Right. They seem like somebody told me they think they're getting algae. Somebody that's a biologist, and said that some of these animals get algae in their fur when we have as much rain or something like that, and so they get some kind of algae. So it could be that they have that greenish, but they do have the greenish tint. I've got another one here that I started seeing. I've got an albino right there, and the albino has got another one with a brown in front of it that's reaching around. You see its fingers, but then you also see another brown one that has the kind of greenish tint too. There's three in the same picture. I just didn't. Okay, but that looks like exactly right.
It appears to me too, like the one in the lower right corner might even be a little like a baby or something.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And that big one's got his eyes on Stephen, and Stephen's got his eyes on him too, man. So I think even that log machine, that Stephen realizes, hey, if that thing decides he wants to go over and turn it over, it may have a pretty good chance to do it as strong as they are. But again, like I said, that's him just doing what he does. Somebody going around their everyday business, and all of a sudden here's a Bigfoot stand there looking at it. Happens all the time.
All right. So here's this.
Okay, this is Blackie. This is one right here that I sent to you there. I haven't showed Blackie very much. I saw Blackie standing there looking at me and Stephen one day. We had a staring match for about 7.5 minutes, I guarantee you. And Blackie sit right there, and he's almost 10 foot tall, because I went back and checked him later on. But he's 1,000 pounds. You can see the eyes and the nose, and I've got a picture of the eyes. You can see the eyeballs there. But he's standing there just tilting back and forth, and he's walking by right there. Whenever he walked by, I had that game camera in that brush top. You can see part of the brush right there, a little log right there. And he walked by, and so that camera flashed, and there's Blackie right there. But again, he's about 10 foot tall and right at about 1,000 pounds. Some people have said, well, do you think he's cloaking? Well, I don't know. That's an awful thick brush. Like I said, I haven't experienced cloaking just yet from what some of the people talk about, but I do know that I can see enough right there with my naked eye but that is Blackie. Like I said, very recognizable. Just as black as Ace's page. Great big animal, probably 4.5 foot across the shoulders.
Oh, that's awesome, man. These are some awesome. I really appreciate you sharing those with us tonight, man. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. That's just what you get whenever you're dealing. You're dealing sometimes with space. You're dealing sometimes with motion. You're dealing with light. You're dealing with distance. But when you get some pictures, man, you're thankful for them, regardless. And I am for those. I'm glad to share those with everybody, because those are actually real. That's not me making up some story, because I've been.
No, of course, I believe everything that you said. First of all, you're the most truthful guy I know, and I know a lot of people, and you're spot on. And here's the thing, what I love about, we went through about 20, 30 pictures today, and what I love is this. The fact of the matter is, we talked about all these things today. We've seen some pretty clear ones. We've seen some blurry ones. We've seen some questionable ones. Right. But that's why we do what we do, right? It's why you do what you do, right? Because you just don't know. So you got your camera out there. You're firing off your pictures, your photos. And I think you depicted a lot of what we talked about all day. And that's, again, kudos to you, man, because you never disappoint when you come on the show.
Well, I appreciate that, and I don't lie to you. Like I said, nobody's more disappointed than me when I see that track. Man, my heart's up there beating like that right there. I'm waiting to go buy my camera, pull the car, and it's not as good a picture as what I want. Well, that's the nature of the beast sometimes. But is it some of it worth sharing? You bet it is, because again, it like you just said, it makes the point of what we said. Not everything is always the same, and I appreciate you saying that. I really hold that comment in high esteem from both of y'all, because it is. I try to bring some new stuff every time. I don't try to bring the same old junk. We talk about telling my story when I first saw the first one there. I don't mind telling that for folks who haven't heard it, but we have a lot of good things, and I do a lot of study. I'm in the woods at least 5 days a week, in the woods or on the roads if it's been raining like it has been. And I try to find something new I think is going to interest people. And like I said, I've got 5 places to go next week if I get a chance of new Bigfoot encounters. And man, I'm excited about going to hear those. Folks have been good enough to invite me, tell me their story. Hey man, come on down here. So I'm going to be sharing hopefully some stuff from y'all, with y'all from that pretty soon also as well.
I wish we could get you down there in Alabama.
But hey, I'd be there in a heartbeat. Sweet home Alabama would have a whole new meaning, buddy, once I got there and got to Bigfoot hunting. I guarantee you. My nephew lives there. after I bass fished a few of them lakes, we'd probably get to go Bigfoot hunting at the same time there. So
that's gonna be a good conference down there, I tell you.
Man, I think it will be too. There, we're getting some folks in there. These conferences are getting better and better speakers. Again, the one we had there in Nebraska was just full of top guns. Take me out of the picture, but include the rest of them there. Some of them are going to be back in there again. And Rob Kreider and Blaine Tyler is going to be there. And I don't know, several more there. But, man, they know what they're talking about. And they've got pictures as well, And so it's going to be really exciting. Anytime you get a chance, folks, it's worth the money. If you want to learn something about Bigfoot, you're going to learn something from at least one person there. And that's a fact. And if that's that one tip that you learn that helps you get that first sighting or that next sighting, then, man, it's worth every bit of money that you paid to get in there.
Oh, yeah, they're well worth it.
I recommend if you're going to a conference, look for, don't get me wrong, I love the guys, and I'm not going to mention any names, but the big guns that are out there. Yeah. But try to get one where there are some local folks going to speak. Because, especially if you're from that area.
That's right. The local folk, it's just like going to a local lake. The local people know the hot spots. The quote, big guns. Here's the thing about the big guns that people say. They'll be some of those people that are the big guns will be the one that's never seen anything. They'll be the one to tell you they are an expert and they're not an expert. And that's not so. And like I said, sometimes it's the boots on the ground, the grassroots guys like what we are. Like I said, the Kyle-Mitchie Bigfoot with Robert Crowder. That's going to be real good. Rob watched his show with Duke the other night. He's got a lot of good things. But try to find somebody that's local like that. The big guns, like I said, they've got a name and reputation. But sometimes they're on the right place to be on the right TV show. But ask them, how many Bigfoot have you ever seen? Well, I've never seen one. Well, and I'm not disparaging him. Not everybody gets to have a Bigfoot sighting. But don't sit there and disparage people who are Johnny Grassroots who are right there seeing them every day while they're out there mowing their hay down or planting their garden or whatever. Because these folks have got a lot of things to tell you too. They just don't have the venue to reach the number of people that these other people have. And again, I don't publicly criticize other Bigfoot people, but that's just a fact. Just because you don't have that name, that Stephen Hill's an example, buddy. He's one of the best Bigfoot hunters nobody's ever heard of. I'm telling you, go out with him. He reads the woods well, as far as another friend I have named Jim Owenby, the same way with Daniel, the same way with my friend Shannon Cruz or Randy Crawford, those guys, and even my wife and my son, they can tell you stuff, man, that's, they keep me sharp, it's kind of like the Bible says, a prophet's not without honor except his own house, because, man, they hold me to the line, boys, for telling the truth. So, and I don't say that in any kind of jest or disrespect to the Bible. I mean, they do. I want my people to hold me down close because that's what keeps me truthful. It keeps me striving harder.
Well, you need so if you're going to be in a group or whatever, somebody needs to be and I think everybody in the group honestly needs to keep. You need to keep each other in check. Need to keep each other grounded. Because there's good. I don't care how good of a researcher you are, or you think you are.
That's right. Yeah.
You're going to see stuff that ain't there.
That's right.
In your pictures and everything else. You've got to have somebody else that is willing to go, no, I don't think so, man. You've got to have that. Because if you don't, if your partner's not comfortable enough with you to go, I think you're wanting to see it too bad.
Right. Paranoia is what they call it. There's some people that have it, and
you know what? And I'm just as guilty as the other guy,
sure.
As any other. I think we all have,
That's right.
On occasion, taking pictures or video or whatever. And we're so used to looking for those patterns that we pick them out really quick. And sometimes we get overzealous, Yeah,
and whereas we, as a rule, we can pick them out quicker than what other people can because, our eyes are trained for that. We're out in the woods longer and stuff like that. But like I said, every now and then we'll sit there and say, and sometimes you chalk up something to nature that is actually Bigfoot, but you just have to, if you're going to have that standard of where it's more likely than not there to prove it true, then you're going to have to just sometimes say, man, I just really don't know. When I got that picture of that Gugway there, Randy Crawford and he wanted to go back the next day when I sent it to him. He's one of my research partners. I said, Randy, I can't. I said, I'm having post-traumatic stress. I said, because that really shook me up because all I have is like a 40 caliber pistol. Well, sure enough, my son got my 45-70 that afternoon, brought it over. We went the next day. Me and Randy took over 50 pictures down there where that gugway was, of behind the root system, of the log, of the tracks that we saw and everything. And there was no way that you could discount it. He has 2 computer monitors. He puts one on this side of the desk and one on the other, and he goes through each one and goes through there and scrutinizes it. And like I said, there's nothing else with it, but I also saw it. I mean, I see it running up there, but I was mistaken. I thought it was a Bigfoot. No, it was a gugway, but nevertheless. So we do. If we don't do that, guys, then we don't have the right to demand that kind of integrity from anybody else if we're not willing to put it up.
Exactly.
No, absolutely. And I couldn't agree with that anymore. And you know what? Your book, I've got the link for your book is in the description. It's going to be an awesome read. I got to go get that. And if you want to give the name for it one more time, because I know I botched it up earlier.
I'll do it. Yeah, no, that's okay, man. Like I said, because it's a lot of words there, but what it is, it's called Searching for the Unfindable in Bigfoot, my quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. And by quest, I mean mosquito bites, tick bites, snakes striking at you, wading through creeks, and everything else. And then you have more times, you have more days where you don't have something that you do than what you actually find. But it's actually a quest, and it doesn't quit, because just as soon as you think, I had this book finished 4 or 5 times, all of a sudden somebody calls me, hey, Will, there's a Bigfoot down here, you come look at it. And something happens. I'm like, oh, shoot, I got to tell them about this right here, I may not write another book. And so it does. So it is a quest. It's something that some people walk out, they're lucky enough to have a sighting, one crossing road, but that's not getting to know the beings. That's not being able to expound any information on y'all that's going to help y'all have your first sighting. So it's searching for the unfindable, my quest for the Arkansas Bigfoot. And like I said, I 449 pages, color pictures.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, it covers 46 years of research from day one until when I accidentally saw one, until the last ones I saw like probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that right there.
Awesome.
Well, hell, if it's got pictures in it, that means I can read it.
Well, it's got color pictures.
Text will be sure to get it. In fact, everybody in chat, if you're on my Facebook or Texas, I've got it on our Facebook as well for you, Will, and in the link of this show, so everybody should be able to find it. Thanks once again for coming back, guys. It's been great. It's been over 2. I never go over 2 hours, but you know what? I had to. Then, of course, my main man came up. I know he wanted to chit chat. But before we go, thanks to Be Kind, thanks to Derek, thanks to Red Creek Mafia, and thanks to Lily Pump for your awesome super chats tonight. We do appreciate it. Don't forget to check in tomorrow at 9. Jason McLean questions everything. I don't know what Jason's got whipped up, but I'm sure it'll be something good. Me, Donnie Show, and Jason. And then I've got your buddy on Thursday afternoon.
Daniel Becker.
Daniel, yes, he'll be on. So Daniel Becker will be on 1 o'clock Thursday. So with that being said, thanks to everybody in chat. Thanks everybody watching later. Everything's free. The archives are free. William, I do appreciate you as always. You must be on a record 6th time, I think. So wow, awesome.
Hopefully they'll have me back for a 7th, but once they hear Daniel.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we'll wait until end of summer, because I know, give you time to get back out there. And I know your wife keeps she lets you do all these things. She's an awesome woman, and give her my thanks too. I appreciate the wife.
I couldn't do it without her, man. That's all. She helps me get on all these websites I don't know how to get on. She holds my feet to the floor, but like I said, she also slips me an extra 20 when I spend the 20 she's already given me per allowance. So, guys, thank you so much. Again, everybody who listened, again, thank you to our responders and our service people and our veterans, man. And folks, I hope to be back with you. I'm going to try to bring you everything that I've got that I think is worthy, and hopefully we'll have some next time.
Very good. And for William,
it was good seeing you again, William.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And for William and for Tex, until next time, we're out.
Good deal.